Welcome to Business in the Black, the podcast where ideas become plans, plans become actionable items, and actionable items become results. Business in the Black is the go-to podcast for aspiring and established Black entrepreneurs looking to build, grow, and sustain successful businesses. Each episode dives into the inspiring journeys of Black-owned businesses, highlighting their triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned. Whether you're thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship or are already running a business, we provide expert advice on essential topics like funding, marketing, operations, and scaling. Our mission is to empower and uplift the Black business community by sharing knowledge, resources, and success stories. Tune in for motivation, practical strategies, and a network of support to help you turn your vision into reality and amplify Black excellence in business. I am your host, Brandon D. Morgan. Let's jump right in. Veterinarians don't just treat animals, they treat the people who love them. Anonymous. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of Business in the Black. Today we have Dr. Christine James. Dr. James is a veterinarian and she's been a veterinarian for 28 years. That is like, right, I know. So we're so excited to have her here today. As you can see, I am on location. I am in the veterinary practice that she runs. Again, we are Business in the Black. We're all about Black entrepreneurs. So she is not only a doctor, but a business owner. So we're so happy again to welcome Dr. James.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So I've known Dr. James for all my life, and you want to know why? Because she's my cousin. So now we're not like cousins and people be like, oh yeah, that's my cousin because she's a doctor. No. My granddad and her mama are sisters and brothers, so like we cousins. We went to Thanksgiving together. We did Christmases together. Every spring break I was down there in Miami at their house, so it's like a thing. But in any case, what I didn't know was a lot of things that I learned during this interview process. And so Dr. James, you've wanted to be a veterinarian since you were in the 3rd grade. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. So growing up, I had a dog. My puppy got really sick, and I tried everything that I could to save my puppy's life, and my puppy passed away. I asked my mother, why don't they have doctors for animals? And my mother told me they do. They're called veterinarians. I took the opportunity to go to my World Book Encyclopedia because there's no Wikipedia back in last century. There was no Google. So I grabbed the encyclopedia, World Book, and looked up veterinarian and read about what it takes to become a veterinarian, what veterinarians do, and what they're responsible for. And while reading through the encyclopedia, I saw a picture of about 6 veterinarians. They were all Black veterinarians. And the caption underneath it said, Tuskegee University graduates the most Black veterinarians of all the veterinary schools in the U.S.
Wow.
I told my mother at that point, I'm gonna become a veterinarian and I'm going to Tuskegee.
Wow. What a story, to know from 3rd grade what you wanted to do and stick with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there were many things my mother tried to introduce me to. Hey, be a human doctor. It's enough of them. That was my response. There are enough human doctors. But animals, they need a voice. Yeah. They need help. And I feel like our community, we need more people that look like us to help us take care of our animals.
After 21 years in corporate America in veterinary medicine, you managing 7 different hospitals and a whole lot of other things that you've done. I mean, she has a great career. It's been like real massive. Tell us or walk us through the moment that you decided to leave that type of financial security and prioritize your health and well-being and move into entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So That is definitely a story in itself.
Yeah.
So I worked for a corporate veterinary company for 21 years. Lots of structure, definitely financially compensated for. And what I wanted as I grow, I don't want to say I got older, as I grow, what I wanted for myself was legacy for my children. And when you're working for a corporate entity, you don't have that legacy to leave behind. And the best way to have a legacy is to be a business owner.
Correct.
A couple of classmates of mine who are quite well known in the veterinary community, they have a television show, which we will not mention here. They asked me if I would be interested in them partnering with me to open up my own practice. And at first I was like, no, because I've got corporate America, I'm making this money, and nah.
Yeah. And
I sat there and had a conversation with, my line managers at one point, and about compensation, about what was expected of me in my role, and all of the other responsibilities that they would like for me to take on. And at that time, again, I was area chief of staff. I was over 7 different hospitals. I was also one of the head leaders as far as the ambassadors for that corporation at Tuskegee University. And so I was helping the students organize different events at the school through the company. And when I realized how much I was doing for a company that doesn't help me establish legacy, and how long I had been doing it for,
right,
and how much more valuable I am as an asset, I decided at that point that I needed to do something different. I am more than just a doctor. I am more than just a mentor. I have a wealth of experience, medically, surgically, managing business, managing people in business, managing multiple units, being in charge of organizing different events and things of that nature. And why would I continue to give that talent to a corporation that is not going to help me with legacy for my children? And that pushed me more towards, it's time to do this for yourself. And now, I think it was one of the best decisions I've made. My phone does not ring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with a variety of issues or problems that are going on in different locations. I don't have that constant go. My blood pressure has reduced. My health has improved. I have time to exercise. My quality of life has improved. And when you're a hamster on that wheel, you don't realize how fast the wheel is going until you step off. And every day I look back and go, that was the best decision I made. And now I'm investing in myself. And not so much myself, but in what I can do to benefit my children, my family, my legacy.
Awesome. You mentioned that this is your first attempt at entrepreneurship. And so when you are looking at this time versus the last time, I know that you talked about, being able or needing to prioritize your kids more. More kids came. You needed to prioritize your kids more and, make sure that you had enough time, work-life balance and all of the things. And so just looking at your last, what you just said about being able, your blood pressure's down and all the positive benefits, what are you doing this time that is different from what you did the last time?
A part of what I'm doing this time that's different, I bring more knowledge of practice management, practice building, managing people. That makes a huge difference. There was an element that I had the first time around when I did this that I don't have now.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of hindering the growth of my clinic I had, oh my gosh, 15, 20 years ago.
Wow.
So what I'm doing now, it's set up in such a way that my life, I'm not living to work. I'm working to live, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I understand that, we have to be available at certain times to offer services, to do the things that we need to do. At the same token, I also get to have days off. I get to have time for my relationship with God, and I get to have time for evening walks to take care of my animals because I don't have one.
She got a farm.
Stop. I have several animals. That's my relaxation. That's my hobby. And so this go around, with the knowledge I've gained working for corporate America, I can better manage my practice. I mean, there's pros and cons of working for corporate America, but when you're in where you can learn how to manage practice, how to manage your cost of goods, which is like your supplies, the things you need to run your business, and your personnel, the people you hire to work for you, and what those things look like, how compensation looks like for them, how much work do I need to do to compensate people who work for me and compensate them well so they want to continue to work with me and for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what incentives do I have for them in the future while working for me? And knowing that sometimes people come into veterinary medicine, into this veterinary field, working in a clinic, and this is not their career choice. This is a stop off on their way. I'm prepared in that sense that I know that I'm going to be hiring more people, training more people, and setting my staff up and putting people in place to make sure those things happen the way they should. So these are all things that I've learned along the way with experience from the first time I owned a practice. And just really knowing the people piece is probably the most important. Because, if anybody out there who owns their own business, you know how to do everything in your business. I know how to do everything here. But why would I do everything myself when I can hire other people who can I can delegate things to get those things done that I don't need to do, which gives me more time to do other things. Mm-hmm. So that means I can see more clients, I can help more pets, and I can go do events like I do at least 4 times a year. I go off to different states and I work with Greater Good Charities in performing spay and neuter clinics for free for people who can't afford to have their pets spayed and neutered. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm very passionate about people knowing what they need to do for their pets and helping people in communities who would otherwise not know or don't have the ability to have those things done for their pets. So I work with an organization who does that, and I take time out of my schedule to go and give back to the community, and that really fills my cup to be able to go back and do that. So and all of that played a huge role in what I do now.
Awesome. As you can see, she's changed her wardrobe up, so there's a lot of extraness going on in here. So again, I told y'all we were cousins, so you just go with it, But in any case, as one of only 2% of African American veterinarian doctor of veterinary medicine, how has that shaped you? Related to just like going into different spaces and understanding, for the culture and community building, what you represent.
So one of the main things that's important to me in being in the veterinary community as a Black woman, I'm not of that school of the African American.
Okay.
I'm old school Black. one of the most important things to me is making sure that our community, any community where they don't get the knowledge they need to raise their pets properly, or they don't have the knowledge of what heartworm prevention is, spaying and neutering, and how important these things are, and there's not someone to talk to them and explain those things to them. That is what I wanted to bring to the community. That is probably one of the most important things when you're talking about preventive care and making care available to our community. A lot of times our communities, our Black and brown communities, we're only told that dog needs a rabies shot. It's actually a vaccine, please don't say shot. The dog needs a rabies and that's it. We're not, as a community, we're not given the information that no, your pet needs these other vaccines. We need to protect them. They need to come in annually. They need to be checked every single year because they age faster than we do. So like you may not go to your doctor, and I'm hoping you go into your doctor yearly, but you may not go until you get sick, but you can't do the same thing for your pet because Fluffy is 1 year old now, and Fluffy is like an adult, a mature adult, 20 years old. And then when Fluffy's 5, Fluffy's 50.
Fluffy aging, baby.
45 or 50, and now Fluffy's 10, and Fluffy is geriatric, and you have gotten no blood work. You don't know where Fluffy stands. Fluffy hasn't been on prevention, and now Fluffy's critically ill, and I'm having to find ways to help you with your pet. And so the most important part of what I do is educating you from the time you get that puppy or that kitten or that bearded dragon or that snake. And I'm letting you know, listen, this is where we start. These are the things that need to be done. And this is how we need to care for this pet properly to ensure a happy, healthy, long life. And these are some preventative things we can do, such as spay and neuter. Every dog doesn't have to be bred. Male dogs don't need their testicles. If they're not breeding, take them off. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need them. Unless he's a show dog, because you're running the risk of the same problems that men have as they get older: prostate cancer, prostate issues, and urinary issues. So if I eliminate that as a problem, then that's more lifetime for your pet. Plus, intact males go out there and they get into fights and they get hurt. They get injured, they get hit by cars because they're running to go look for a female. So these are all things that people don't realize. I'm not just telling you to spay and neuter your pet because I like to do surgery. I'm telling you to spay and neuter your pet because it's what's going to ensure a healthier lifestyle for them. So I'm really, really into educating our community and educating people when they come in. When clients come in to see me, we're going to have a conversation.
Oh, that was a lot. Now, you mentioned clients coming in to see you, and you, again, being a Black female veterinarian. So, the Black and brown party that you referenced a minute ago, what is the, what are some of the things that your customers, your clients, have really told you of how important it is to see that type of representation in veterinary medicine?
So I've had, in my career, I've had mixed reception from people, and you'll be surprised. So I've walked into spaces and rooms where I've talked to the client, I've introduced myself as a doctor, and they've asked me, when is the doctor coming in? I've had opportunities to walk into a room, my technician has gone in, I go in after my technician may be a brown person. And then I walk in after my technician, and I've seen people go, wait, you're the doctor?
You're the doctor?
Absolutely. They're like, oh yes, this is fantastic. I'm like, okay, is there something I need to help you with? No, I'm just so happy to see someone that looks like me helping me with my pet. And it's even more impactful when it's somebody with their child, especially a little girl, and they're like, look, it's a woman, and she's a veterinarian, and she looks like us.
Wow.
And it's humbling at that point, because I didn't get into vet med for that.
Right.
I didn't go into veterinary medicine for the people.
Right.
I went for the pets. But guess who comes on the other end of the leash?
The people.
The people.
The third grade.
The third grader is on the other end of that leash.
Wow.
And that's who I'm there for. Ultimately, that's who I'm there for.
Wow.
In larger spaces, larger arenas, I have been on conference calls. My name has been mentioned in places and spaces in the corporate world. And then people meet me and they go, oh, you're Dr. James? Absolutely. What'd you hear? You know, oh, I've heard so much about you. Everybody's mentioning you're great, you're fantastic, you're a great teacher, you're really good with teaching your doctors how to do things and what have you. This is when I worked in corporate America. Mm-hmm. And a lot of doctors talk about how happy they were with your mentorship, and we're just happy to meet you face to face. And, you know, to me that says you weren't expecting it to be me.
Right.
But it's okay. Here I am.
Drops mic. I'm sure there are many times that people come in. You mentioned a minute ago, people coming in thinking their dog just needs a rabies shot, or their dog is, 50 years old, and all of these different things.
Yes.
So talk to me about, helping the client or the customer to realize or to not feel judged. Can you come up with a specific example of when, a client did come in and they probably should have been judged? What's the philosophy that has made you not judge them on their pet problems, and how have you handled those types of situations?
It goes back to that 8-year-old. At the end of the day, I'm about compassionate pet care. I want to help your pet. If your pet ate something, got into something, I don't care what it is. I need to know what it is, because my job is to save your pet. What goes on in your household is not my concern. That my dog went and ate all the Lego blocks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go get these Lego blocks out. Don't tell me I don't know what my dog got into.
Right.
I need to know, so I know where to go. I know what to look for. Had a client bake brownies, glass dish. Oh man, this must have been about 13 years ago.
Wow.
Big glass dish, casserole dish, left it on the counter, left. Came back home, no casserole dish. Looked down on the floor and there's a couple pieces of glass. And when I say a couple, I mean like little small pieces of glass. No glass anywhere else. No glass in the garbage. She calls her husband. Hey, did you drop the brownies? He says, I haven't been home yet. Dog is laying over on the couch. Belly looks real big. The dog, a Labrador, jumped on the counter, knocked off the Pyrex glass dish, ate the dish and the brownies. So I had to go do surgery and remove pieces of, you literally hear pling, 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 as I'm removing glass and brownie from this dog's stomach. So, no judgment, because
I'm not judging. My face just looking.
But
like
who could easily say, well, why would you leave the brownies on the counter where the dog can get to it? Anything can happen.
Yeah, why you got a lab in your house? I mean, so many things.
But there's no judgment, because things happen. Things happen. I would have never thought a dog would have ate the dish. The brownie, absolutely.
How you get your teeth to do that?
Just picked it up and swallowed and ate it. I've had clients where their dogs have gotten into their marijuana stash, and
I was waiting on that. I thought that's where you were going first, but go on with your story.
And we have to treat them for that. And at the end of the day, it's me educating you on this is what happens with marijuana toxicity. You want to put your stash away, pick up everything, make sure it's out of reach. If you don't want your dog to touch it, don't put it where your dog can touch it.
Right.
And that's basically what it is. No judgment. If that's what you do in your household, that's between you and your household. Unless what you're doing is physically causing harm to your pet over and over again, no judgment. No judgment.
About that third time, you need to be figuring it out.
Third time, we need to have a nice long
talk. We call it animal control in a minute now.
Yeah. We're doing what we need to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not there to judge you for what your dog got into. We're not calling the police and saying, that's not our job, because it's HIPAA, just like with your clinician, it's HIPAA.
Right.
And so I'm not going to call unless what you're doing is causing your direct actions are causing harm to your pet. Then we're going to have a conversation, and then if that's not helping, then we move to the next step.
Yeah.
Because trust me, your pet's happier with you than being in the pound.
You seem to be running a really compassionate business here. It seems like it's people over business, if you for lack of a better phrase. Again, making sure that they feel comfortable, the pet feels comfortable, everybody's, happy and hooray, hoorah. But how does that work when it comes to payment? How do you navigate, if they're not able to pay, or they have to figure out something and all the things? Because veterinary medicine or veterinary care is not cheap, So, how are you balancing those types of conversations or difficult conversations related to patient care?
There are so many different ways for a client to finance care for their pets. We do offer those options of finance care outside of us. Like how you have like Afterpay and things like that. We have Scratch Pay. We do care credit and those different modalities in order to pay for the care that your pet needs. I am not going to not take care of a pet in an emergency situation. By the same token, this business does not run for free.
Yeah, not a free clinic.
Not a free clinic. I'm a veterinarian. That is my profession. And just like you go to your doctor and your doctor is compensated for what they do, I am your pet's doctor, and I get compensated for what I do. The difference is you have medical insurance for yourself and they pay up front and then you pay the back end, and that it's the opposite in the veterinary business. I work to make my pricing competitive but fair. I want you to be able to afford what you need for your pet, but I also need to be able to afford supplies, my staff, my overhead, lights, power, my equipment, those things that it takes. My jacket, stethoscope. Yeah. But those things that it takes to run a practice, that there's a base amount of money that I need to have in order to run my day-to-day practice. And so just like with any business, there's a price tag to it. Am I out here to beat people over the head and take all of their money? Absolutely not. I'm not going to recommend something that your pet doesn't need. I'm not here to see how high I can run up a bill for your pet. This is what your pet needs. This is how much it is. This is what I'm offering you. If you're unable to afford that, if you're unable to get any type of care, I'm going to help you find somewhere or somehow to get what you need, to get what that pet needs. Even if it's, I only got $300, Doc, okay, let me figure out how I'm going to work with $300 to do what I need to do to get your pet, to keep your pet stable until we can get it where it needs to go for what it needs. But at the end of the day, I offer a service that it deserves to be compensated for. A lot of times in the veterinary world, a lot of the stress that the veterinarians are under, part of it is the financial aspect of it. Having people constantly asking for discounts. Can you give me a break? Can you cut me this slack? Can you do that? People who come in and say, oh, XYZ offers that same service for $10. That's great. Perhaps you should go there. Because I value my service at a certain price point for my experience, because that's what you're paying for. You're paying for my experience, for my expertise, and for the treatment that your pet is receiving. Yeah. And people really need to take all of that into account when they bring their pet to a veterinary practice. Yeah. And my time is valuable as well. So when you come in and you take up my time, it's
money.
It's money.
Let's feel it.
Time is money. Yes.
Y'all know I started to get a pet when she opened this thing up, just so I could get free veterinary care.
Negative.
I mean, I still don't have a dog, but
No.
that's neither here nor there either. that was why I was gonna get one, because I was like, shoot, I can just get free veterinary care. I ain't gotta worry about it.
Everybody pays.
Obviously. So speaking of business,
Yes.
you know, and getting down to business, a lot of our guests, you know, some of our guests have been talking, and our listeners struggle with funding. And you mentioned that, you know, it takes at minimum $250,000 to, you know, open a legitimate veterinary practice. And I mean, some people are just looking for $2,500, and you had to go find 25 times XYZ blah 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 blah, you know, to get this really up and running. What were some of the, you feel free to walk us through like funding, but what were some of the unexpected costs that you incurred?
That's difficult because, like I said, I've been in the business for a while.
Right. So you knew.
I already knew.
Yeah.
Right. When you're talking about lab, the equipment that I used to run lab work, like that has a price tag on it. Microscope has a price tag on it. The cages have
Whatever
a price
this
tag.
is.
The lights,
You know.
the surgical suite, the surgery equipment, the anesthesia machine has a price tag on it. The X-ray table, that's about $50,000 right there, just to be able to take X-rays.
X-rays, 50,000.
Just everything. I have an incubator. That's another.
For birthing
Puppies.
animals that
They put
and they
in-
need to
or any small animal that needs, you know, specific care. It needs to be in an incubator. If they're sick, they need to be kept temperature. You know, I have an incubator for that.
Okay.
So all of the different things. My ultrasound machine, we won't even. That's another 35,000-40,000 right there for that machine alone.
Wow.
So when you say 250,000 and people are like, "Where? How could you need
Yeah,
that
where's
much
this
money?"
going? Yeah.
It's the equipment
Wow.
and the things that I need in order to practice medicine. You know, having to stock with medications, flea and tick medications, injectable medications, emergency medications, anesthetics. All those things also cost money. So like your initial order to stock your hospital, $12,000-$13,000. And this is like, you know, your basic items that you need to start. So starting a veterinary business, you know, most business they say, you know, within a few years you can start making money. Most veterinary practices don't start making money for 5 to 10 years. When you start to build clientele and really start to make a profit. The difference being in how you manage your practice. And so since I know how to manage the practice, I can make the hospital profitable probably quicker than 5 years. But then again, it's building clientele, it's providing a service that makes people want to return.
Right.
And, you know, my silent partners helped a lot with financing. It's hard as a singular person to get financing for that amount for veterinary practice. Everybody's willing to like throw money at you, but then you got to pay that money back.
Right.
And so I have partners who help financially with that. And, you know, being able to sit back and say, hey, this is where we are. By the way, we just had our 1-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So we've been open a year now, and to look where we are now versus a year ago, I'm like, yeah.
We're moving in the right direction.
But I needed to move further.
Yeah.
I really want to be able to say that we are making a difference in the community and with the community pets.
Got it.
The funding part is probably what stops most veterinarians from going out on their own. They'll usually go into a practice where that's already established and work with somebody and then buy into that practice. So to jump out on your own and start your own practice is very daunting. But when you do it, it's very rewarding.
Right. Big risk, big rewards.
Big risk, big rewards. As with anything.
You've worked a lot with different CEOs, been in big rooms, been around a lot of people. So, you know, we talked, and you talked about this $2 thing. I talk to the people because I don't want to be shocked when I start talking in the actual interview. So when I reference things, I got a little something going on in my head. But, so what is this $2 reference? And give me a specific, after you explain what the $2 thing is, because it's pretty neat now. But you know, a specific decision that you've had to make where that really came into play.
Absolutely. So, $2. The company I worked for before, the original owner of the company, when you started and you went through the onboarding process, you would go out to the headquarters and there would be a dinner night and he would pass out $2 bills, which you don't see many $2 bills now. So that makes this story all the more impactful. He would give you a $2 bill and he would say, "This is your $2 bill. When you want to spend a resource on something, once you spend this $2 bill, you will not get it back. Is it worth the $2 bill? Is it worth you spending this $2? Because you're not going to see this $2 again." So you make every decision, all of your financial decisions based on how important is that $2 bill. And that I still have it, by the way.
Oh, the $2 he gave you.
$2 he gave me. I have it folded the exact way he gave it to me. I folded it and put it in a wallet, and it's still in the original wallet that I got it in 20 some odd years ago, in a box.
Wow.
In my house. I still have this $2 bill, and it was very impactful to me. It has changed a lot of decisions I make. I can be an impulse buyer. I see something, oh, I gotta have it. And I've learned to put things, because it's, thank God for online purchasing, I put it in a basket.
And it just stays in the basket.
And it stays in the basket. And I'm not gonna buy it right now, I'm gonna think about it. And days will go by and I'll happen up on the site again, but like, oh, what's in the basket? Oh, I really didn't need that. And it really changes how you view spending. Is it worth spending this money? How valuable is this to me? For instance, if I am wondering whether I should place a new product in my hospital, I need to evaluate how often am I going to use this product, this equipment, this machinery? What is the return on this investment? How is it going to impact the care that I give to my patients? Are my clients going to be willing to pay for this service, this product? What potential outcomes could there be to me purchasing this? And 9 times out of 10, when I'm like, no, this is worth it, it's been worth my $2. It's been worth my $2. Especially later in my career. Earlier in my career, I was like, man, it would be great if I had X, Y, and Z. And when you really sit down and look at how often you would use that,
It's like, nah.
it's not worth my $2. I'll send you to somebody who does that every single day for their $2 because they're specialized, they're specialty practice, and that's what they do. So just really guarding your investment, knowing where your money goes, making sure that what you're investing in is a return. It's going to return to you, and it's going to return like 10x. Like you're definitely going to get a return on your investment. I have an ultrasound machine, and I had to pay to learn the training for it. But has it benefited me? Absolutely. Right. The amount of diagnosing and the things that I can do with the ultrasound machine has really made a difference in how I practice medicine. And so that's $2. That $2 bill was well spent.
Awesome.
So that is the $2 thing. So think of, if you had a rare coin, would this rare coin be worth spending? That's Susan B. Anthony. I don't even know if you can find them anymore, but if I had a Susan B. Anthony, am I going to spend it on a concert?
A Coke, yeah.
Or a Coca-Cola, or grocery to feed my family?
Right.
Where's that money going to go? What impact can it make? What's most important at that time for that dollar? And when you guide your business based on what are your outcomes from spending that money, it makes a huge difference from I want, I saw it, I want it, and then it sits on your shelf. Or it's in a little dark corner and you never use it.
And you forget you got it.
And then you forget you have it. Or you buy it and you don't have the training or the skills to use it.
Right. Or the training and the skills to use it cost more than the product.
More than the product. So just knowing how, when, and where to spend your money. Like, I love cardiology. I am not a cardiologist. If your dog has a heart murmur, I'm like, ooh, it's a heart murmur. You want to hear it? You're going to the cardiologist.
Yeah.
It's great. You're going to a cardiologist.
Yeah.
I see an abnormal reading during anesthesia, abnormal rate, or we won't get into cardiology, but I see something abnormal in EKG, I'm recommending you to go to cardiologist. Can I treat it? Absolutely, but I don't do that every day, and I'm going to send you to someone who does, because they have all the equipment, the bells and whistles to take care of that.
They spent their $2 on that.
They spent their $2 on that.
Right.
I don't need to spend my $2 on that.
So you talked about your extensive career in corporate America, and it gave you a lot of different leadership skills and nuggets that you could bring into your own practice. But not everything learned is transferred. So talk about something that you learned in corporate America that you did not adapt in your own business model.
Ooh.
I'm Oprah over here now.
One of the things that I did not take away from corporate medicine is the communication piece with my clients. That relationship building is important to me. If you don't trust me, if you haven't spoken to me, you don't trust me, you don't trust what I'm offering, it makes it harder for me to treat your pet. And so that relationship building with you and your pet, and bonding with you and your family when you come to visit, and I promise me I'm going to know your pet's name before yours, because that's my patient. Cuddling with your dogs, all those things, and it's natural to me to want to cuddle your puppy and hug and give treats and do all those things. That relationship building is something that when I worked in corporate, I didn't have time to build those relationships. So many clients to see, back to back. It was a volume thing, and it doesn't give me the time to create the relationships I want to create with my clients. And so the one thing I did not bring to my own practice was volume. It's not how many, it's the quality of the time that I spend with my clients. I have clients that don't speak English, they speak Spanish, and I have to break out my Espanol.
An encyclopedia probably come in handy. Not really.
And Google Translate does not translate a lot of things into Spanish well. And so, knowing Spanish enough to speak to my Spanish clients and have that conversation with them myself instead of going through a third party, it makes a huge difference. As well as having just the time, being able to take the time to make sure that the client understands what I'm relaying to them. Because I can come into a room and speak really fast and tell you everything and be like, you got any questions? And walk out and you're just like, ooh, what? And I will explain something, and as I'm explaining, do you have any questions so far? Is there anything else I can make more clear for you? What more can I do for you? Would you like some resources? Making sure you have things to read and what have you. So again, relationship.
Wow.
Relationship building. That is the one thing that I didn't have that I have now, is that relationship building with my clients.
Wow. So a lot of our listeners are concerned with metrics and, trying to figure out if the business is successful. And you talked a few minutes ago about, you're in year one and it looks like you're heading in the right direction, and you're wanting to keep going and all of these different things. But what is it that you look for on, whether it be a weekly basis or like weekly income or patient charges or P&L statements? What metrics most accurately tell you whether your practice is heading in that right direction?
A lot of it is my cost of goods, my salary payout to my employees, and again, looking at what I'm charging versus what I'm making. Does that price need to change? What am I doing a lot of that I can alter that price to give a cut in that area? And where do I need to increase the price because the products in order to do this service actually are going up? and sitting back and looking at week to week, week over week, how I'm doing, looking at how many clients are coming in, clients that don't show for appointments, what are the causes. So a lot of managing and exploring what stops clients from coming in. Was it too far of a lead time in their appointment? Do we need a shorter lead time? Should we accommodate them sooner? What have you. The weekly snippet of how much we've made, I look at that, and I now know that if I don't make X amount of dollars this week, that granted I can pay my employees, but I've put myself behind for the next week. And then there's weeks when I'm like, whoa, we're gonna blow it out the water because my goal is to make X amount of dollars a week, and here we are the fourth day in the week and we're already there. So anything we make from here is bonus. Right. Not necessarily profit, but this is cushion. This is something that can cover me for
go to the bank.
The week where I missed my mark. And just making sure that there are more weeks where we are hitting that goal, that number, and less weeks where we are missing it, whether it be by $50, $100, $1,000. I want fewer weeks of missing and more weeks of exceeding. And it takes time to figure out where that goal is. Like I said, when I'm in my first year now, I know now by the number of employees that I have, what I need to make, what I spend on cost of goods, and I know how to tailor my day in order to make the amount of money I need to make to cover what I do in the practice on a weekly basis. It is not something where you just sit down and go, oh, we didn't do it today.
Didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
Missed the mark.
Missed the mark. But tomorrow, I may do more than I needed to do to cover it. So it's a week by week, month by month, and then sitting down with the P&L at the end of the year and saying, okay, we were 15,000 from breaking even.
Right.
What could we have done differently?
And make those adjustments.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And some of that is in personnel. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have the right team, baby.
Gotta have the right team. What you got for me?
So you've had a lot of different twists and turns as well in your journey. And, looking now, you went to Tuskegee at 16, you were asked to come to veterinary school early. People be fighting to get in veterinary school. And just looking at, you've gone into corporate America and stayed there for a while. You decided to open up your own practice, then decided to come out, and then decided to go back in, all of the different things. What advice would you give your younger self about sustainability and being able to just continue?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
This profession is known, unfortunately, for having one of the highest suicide rates. And that speaks to the sustainability of the amount of pressure and stress there is in this profession of veterinary medicine. One of the most important things is work-life balance. If I could go back and talk to myself in the beginning when I first started, I would have tell myself, advocate for your time. Advocate for your free time. Take those vacations. Go take a week off. You need that time to reset. Because I worked. My PTO time was if somebody was sick or if I needed a day off or I had to travel somewhere for my children or something like that. I didn't take my PTO time for myself until later in adulthood. And you really need that time to reset. So really, that's one of the things that would makes life in any professional capacity more sustainable. Taking that break, taking the time off to recharge, to reset, and come back and keep going. Secondly, realizing before you're fatigued that you need a break and you need to make a change. that would be one of the second things. There came a time where, and believe it or not, I was tired of practicing medicine.
Oh, animals?
Yes.
All the animals you got at home?
I was tired of practicing medicine.
Wow.
And I was just fatigued from the everyday seeing clients and caring for pets and advocating and feeling like I'm not making a difference.
To the fulfillment piece.
The fulfillment piece. And just became fatigued with that and wanted to do something different. Like there has to be something else I can do. But I'm so passionate and driven about patient care and taking care of pets that it really put me in a space where I was trying to decide, is this something I want to continue to do? And again, had I
just took off,
taken off and taken a break and done those things and made use of my PTO, I probably would have not gotten in that space, in that headspace. Making better life decisions, you know, deciding who you partner with in life makes a huge difference in how your day-to-day goes. Making sure that the person you have that you're partnering your life with is actually partnering with you. They're helping carry the load. They're helping care for the children. They're helping with the household duties. They're doing things to make when you get home easier. And it doesn't matter who that is in the relationship, if the roles are reversed or traditional, you have to have that person who is willing to be a true helpmate, because we are not put on this earth to do it alone.
Right.
And you know how long it took me to come to the decision that I can do it better alone than I can, you know, with the person that's supposed to be helping me.
Right.
So that would be one of the things I would tell my younger self. Choose a partner that is going to help you, that's going to be a true helpmate. And you know, a lot of people look at that, and I know I'm doing something way beyond veterinary medicine, but just in life in general, we're not talking about 50-50. We're talking about who is going to be there for you, who's going to cheerlead you, who is going to hold your hand, who's going to be there to wipe your tears and tell you, yep, we crashed and burned on that one, baby,
We're gonna keep
but we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Who's going to be there like, hey, babe, you worked all day. You've been working all week. I got it. I got the kids tonight. Just come on, go jump in the shower, take an hour, chill out, and then meet us at dinner. I'm going to go, you ain't got to cook. Tell me you're going to go grab Chinese. Tell me you're going to take care of some of those responsibilities. And just making sure you have that person in your corner who you know you're going to be there for and is going to be there for you. And that's the most, probably one of the more important things in life. One of the other things I would tell myself, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I literally enjoy what I do. I would not have continued in this career if I didn't enjoy what I do. Oh, I'm getting a little emotional.
It's all right. That's what we do over here.
I have always been passionate about pets and animals and caring for them, and sitting down and thinking about I was willing to step away from that.
Give me the crap. What's going on?
It's it's a lot. And I had a client tell me one time, I know this is something you were meant to do, because I haven't met another veterinarian who is actually concerned about my pet and making sure that my pet gets what they need. And this is why when you change practices, when you move locations, I follow you. Mm-hmm. I have clients now, because I used to practice in Florida, who found me on LinkedIn and brought their pet to me from Florida to Georgia.
Wow. Because
they wanted to get that quality care. And so it's very humbling, and I don't take it lightly. And I'm glad that God put it on my heart to just stick it and continue. This is what you're meant to do.
Wow. We need a commercial break.
Whew. Oh my God. So sorry.
You good?
And when they say we're not passionate, and we in it for the money, ooh, I hate that.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Business in the Black, the go-to podcast for aspiring and established Black entrepreneurs looking to build, grow, and sustain successful businesses. Each episode dives into the inspiring journeys of Black-owned businesses, highlighting their triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned. You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Bluesky, Spotify, and Apple at Business in the Black. Instagram, Business in the Black Pod, P-O-D. And our YouTube channel, Business in the Black Pod, no spaces. Please follow, like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thanks again for joining, and we look forward to seeing you next week.